Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in today, you guys. I'm your host, DZ, and today let's make a Tunisian crochet circle. This is a really fun and easy project and a great way to use up scrap yarns or make something super cool. This can be for a blanket, rugs, dishcloths, the tops of hats, the bottoms of bags. This is a versatile stitch witchery right here, okay? One of the things, well, you're gonna have to have a double-ended Tunisian crochet hook. This one is a 6mm by Clover, and if you go to Joann, I know Joann has them sometimes. I don't know that Michael's does, and your Hobby Lobby may. Mine does not have these anymore. Otherwise, you can order them online. You can also get a double-ended cabled hook to where you have a lot more length and you can work this pattern a lot quicker because you can cast on a lot more loops. So I'll also be using a stitch marker to keep track of where we are, and I show you from the very beginning to this point with the stitch marker and how to keep track and make sure that everything turns out symmetrical. So if you're ready, go ahead and grab two different kinds of yarns. Today I chose this Red Heart Granny Square. This one is called Black Neon Lights, and I mixed it with white to do the return pass. So if you're ready, go ahead and grab your stuff, and I'll see you in just 1 second. All right, we're going to start off with a chain of 2. For your first chain, make it about 1 inch wide, and then 1 more chain. Single crochet into the first chain. And I'm going to use a stitch marker throughout the video just to show where we are. And we're going to make 11 more single crochet in this circle. Let's see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, and then we're going to make 2 single crochet in each stitch around. And I'm going to mark the first stitch that I made for the second round. All right, so we have 24 stitches. Let's get ready for the next step. Okay, so I have finished my circle And just make sure that however you finish your circle off, you have 24 stitches to work with. And then pick up your yarn, insert your hook into just any of the loops. We're going to use the back loop only. And then make sure that you have about 5 or 6 inches hanging from the bottom so that we can weave that in as we go. That way you don't have to do any sewing later. So just pick up a loop like that, and then on the opposite side you're going to pick up the loop, but make sure that you bring your tail yarn on top, work your stitch, and then drop it, work the next stitch, pull it up over the hook for the next, and so on. And then we'll see what that looks like in a second when we turn this around. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. We'll just pick up one more. Okay, and then when we turn it over, it's all nice and worked in. So now it's time for the return pass. So turn your work to where it's facing you, and your working yarn is over on the right hand side now, and then slide your project over to the left. And grab your second yarn. At first, we're going to yarn over and pull through just the one loop, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Leave this loop of your return pass yarn on the hook, and then you have your one last stitch that's unworked. That's still a live stitch. Okay, so we're going to turn that over just like that, and continue picking up loops all the way around. And I'm just going to mark this first stitch, not because I don't know where it is, just for the video's sake. And just pick up enough loops to where it's comfortable. Obviously, you know, with a short hook like this, I'm only going to be able to pick up a small amount of loops. You know, I mean, there's like an inch and a half or 2 more inches, and that's about all I'll be able to get on here once this gets bigger. And but if you have a cabled hook, you know, by all means, you can put on a lot of loops and make this item much quicker. All right, so we're finished picking up as many loops as we can, and then turn your item back around to where the back side is facing you. And then let's just continue to close this round. Okay, so we've picked up all of the loops of the round, but what we want to do is connect with our first stitch. Otherwise, we'll have a gap there. So go ahead and pick up a loop in the very first stitch that we worked, and then let's close this round. All right, and I'm going to take this stitch marker off. Now, for this round only, is this stitch right here going to count as our first stitch of the round. After all of the other rounds that you see we're going to do, the stitch that's left on your hook, this live stitch for the forward pass, is going to be the last stitch of the previous round, okay? And you'll see what I mean as we go along. But for this round, this is going to be the first stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And next, what we're going to do is make our increase. So yarn over, and then just simple stitch in the next loop. One stitch, increase. So you're going to increase every other stitch. And you can see the increase stitches are very distinct because there's, you know, a spot right here and the yarn comes over, whereas with just a regular stitch, you know, there's nothing in the middle there. Before I turn, and this is just something that I do, before I turn my project to continue the return pass, I always stop at an increase. And this isn't really that important now, but when you get a whole lot of stitches going, sometimes it's hard to remember exactly where you are if you stop like mid stitches. And you'll see what I mean later on as we continue this. So let's go ahead and turn around. And we're going to close the round. The round's always going to be closed the same. Except now you have your increases that you're going to close through. And those are stitches too. All right, so if you're doing this correctly, you will end each increase round with an increase. And you'll know that you might have made a mistake because when you're first learning how to do this, it can be a little bit confusing. So that's why I'm trying to give you some of the pointers throughout that I learned when I was practicing this, because, you know, it is slightly different than the normal way that we would Tunisian crochet. So we did one increase round, and then our next round is going to just be 2 Tunisian simple stitch in each stitch around. But let's go ahead and close this round off. All right. So as I said before, after the very first round of Tunisian crochet, every stitch that's left, the last live stitch is not going to count as your first stitch of the next round. It's just the last stitch that you worked. This is where we're going to make our next stitch, our first stitch. And that's the one that we're going to mark. You can keep track however you want. This is just how I do it. So whatever you like. And we're just going to make Tunisian simple stitch in each stitch around. No increasing this time. And just go ahead and keep picking up your stitches just like this for this round and then working them off on the return pass. And then I'll meet you guys right back over here. Let's take a look at what we have here so far. So we've done our initial row of Tunisian crochet, then we have one increase round, just one round with no increasing, and now we're ready for the second increase round. So remember, this doesn't count as the first stitch. So we're going to pick up one loop, another loop. So we have two first stitches, and then increase. One, two, increase. My neighbors are doing yard work, so I hope you guys can't really hear that too much. And we'll pick up two more and one more increase. And we're just going to keep closing our rounds the same every time. Remember, all of the loops are stitches, including the increase loops. So we have the increase as our last stitch we made. Let's finish this round up. And just like before, our last stitch is always going to be an increase on the increase rounds. This is our last stitch, and this will be the last loop or the first loop on your hook once we finish closing this round. All right, so we've finished our second increase round. From here, you're just going to pick up loops only with no increases, being sure to keep track always of your first stitch of each round. So go ahead and alternate each round, an increase round with a regular round with no increases, until your item gets to be the desired size that you want. Okay, so we finished just one round of Tunisian crochet, simple stitch, and then now it's time for another increase round. And I'm just gonna show you guys the beginning one more time because I wanna make sure that you understand how this works. So this stitch is from the previous round, and we're going to make our new stitch for our third increase round. So that's stitch number 1. Two, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase around. Work your loops off just as before, and let's see what this looks like on a large scale. So I'm making this piece out of scrap yarn, which is a very awesome way to use up yarns you don't really like, or just, pieces, leftovers from skeins. Now, this does have a curl on the edge, as you can see, but once you bind off and add a border, this is going to be a really cool piece of handmade crochet artwork. I hope you guys enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. And until next time, peace out and happy crochet!